Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Inner Insights. I'm your host, Darragh Stewart. It is a really great pleasure here to have Dr. Bryan Duggan. Welcome to the show again, Bryan.
Thanks, Darragh. My pleasure to be here. And, it's been in my mind that I would love to do another podcast with you. So thanks so much for reaching out. I'm delighted to be here. An exciting time.
It is exciting times, and it's only 2 years ago since we did the first episode, so
I know.
I can't believe it.
Definitely. Well done on keeping the momentum and keeping the project going and all the interesting podcasts that you've had in the last 2 years. And I was very happy to be the first one. So thank you. And, when we did the first podcast, there was a lot of things we talked about. And it's interesting 2 years down just to see how the projects have come along. So I've loads of updates.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to getting into so many of the topics. And even in the last 2 years, AI has just really catapulted, speeded ahead. Everyone's on ChatGPT now and Claude and all the LLMs, and I'm just so excited to chat to you about it for a variety of reasons. But yeah, for those who didn't listen to the first ever episode of Inner Insights, I'll just give you a little bio about Bryan. So Dr. Bryan Duggan is a lecturer in computer science at TU Dublin, where for over 23 years he has explored the intersection of technology, art, creativity, music, yoga, and consciousness. A visual artist, musician, and creator of immersive XR and generative art experiences. Bryan's work explores the fascinating connections between technology, creativity, and the psychedelic experience. He brings together coding, meditation, yoga, artistic expression, inviting us to see technology not simply as a tool, but as a means of exploring consciousness, creativity, and new possibilities for the human experience. So, Bryan, it's amazing to have you on again. I just see you as this Ireland's Leonardo da Vinci. You're a futuristic man. You have so many projects always going. It's always just so fascinating to connect and have conversations with you. And I'm just really excited to pick this up after 2 years and see what's been happening and going on.
Yeah, thanks for the great introduction as well. That sums me up very well. Computer scientist, musician, artist, inventor, hologram robot.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, I'd love to just get straight into it. I really feel over the last few years, AI has really become a part of a lot of people's day-to-day lives. And I feel like there's this huge power there. I think it's very powerful for expanding our creativity, generating projects, kind of our potential as human beings. But I also feel there's a lot of fear out there as well. And there's a lot of pushback from artists and, from a lot of people, I think there's this fear that it will disconnect us from what makes us human and it might overtake us. And what do you really feel that we stand to gain from all of this? And is there anything that we actually should be afraid of or afraid of losing as a human species?
No, would be my direct answer to that. I kind of embrace AI, I've been using it since the very first, and I've had profound conversations, and I feel it's been brilliant for my own personal growth and development. And I think AI can, and it does for many people, it reflects their higher self. So if I wanted to be in the future, to have a skill, or I want to have some capability or to do a project, the AI is the thing now that can help me to achieve that from any point in life. Anyone's got to if you think about, a Claude subscription is 20 quid a month, and the capability you get with that is the capability that, it would have just, it's impossible to conceive to have that much amount of knowledge and power, and it's accessible to everybody. So I'm definitely, I feel good about it, but I also think, I'm kind of an artist as well. So I feel people using AI for example, using AI to generate art, and then, artistic posters like the backlash against posters and AI generated music. it's so interesting to watch it all happening because, as you say, everyone is like getting caught up in the use of AI. If you have a little event, you'll do an AI flyer. Wow, it'll be way better than the one a human might have done, but it'll look the same as everybody else's AI flyer. And you know what? People won't come because it's an AI flyer. There's a backlash against it. And even in the music community, there's a sort of a backlash against, I wouldn't say a backlash, but as you say, a fear. And people are definitely fearful, but I don't think that people should be fearful of AI. Fear is going to separate them from this enormous power and this enormous potential. It can elevate you to a better version of yourself. I've seen its progress in the last few years. Yeah, definitely. I would say, and there's a creator on YouTube called David Andre. He's brilliant. He's been covering the developments for many years. David Andre says, I would rather work with Claude's Fable than 90% of humans. And so just consider that. I work with Claude Fable and I feel to some degree, I like working with humans. You got to work with humans to get other people's perspective because the AI will just reflect back your own things. So you need to see things from other points of view. But the AI is incredibly powerful, and yeah, if you're a creative person and you're using AI, I don't know. You see, I don't really have strong opinions about it. I'm trying to observe all of this. I'm being neutral about it, but definitely it's such a huge challenge in education and such a huge challenge in computer science education in particular, because the old ways of assessing, the old ways of learning, and even the subject matter that we learn, there's big questions about, its potential relevance in the future. Are people going to be writing code? Yes, is the answer. People will always write code, because you need human oversight on anything that makes it into production, makes it into a person's life. So it's still essential that people understand how to write code from scratch. I don't know, but maybe it's just because I have spent my whole career telling people to learn programming. And then suddenly I'm at the stage now when I write very little actual code myself.
Yeah.
And I feel almost AI is like drugs, right? You want to keep it away from the young people, but it's okay for the old people. So if you are already well experienced in your field, you could use AI and it's an incredibly powerful multiplier of capability. But if you're starting out on your journey, then you have to go slow to move fast and you have to do things the old way. That's why in the university, we still get people taking photographs with analog cameras and learning how to develop film. It's part of you have to learn. Computer science didn't come out of nowhere. It's been around for 100 years, and what was taught in a computer science class in 1960s was just as relevant as what we're teaching today, but maybe the modes of creating software in the future are kind of altered forever. This was inevitable, though, since the very first computers, since we started recording information and people started typing, and then suddenly the whole of human consciousness was being downloaded bit by bit and recorded. And then, of course, the machine was going to learn how to do something with it. So in a way, all of this was inevitable. All of this was predicted. All of this is the way it was supposed to be, and it's all playing out perfectly in its own way. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I love that.
definitely we're going to have robots. Robots will replace a lot of manual jobs, will replace a lot of the jobs. And then what's the challenge going to be? How will people, everyone's like, what will we do? Great. Don't, sweep the floor. Get the robot to do it for you. Go and paint. Learn traditional Irish music. Here's a tin whistle and here's a tune book. You'll never be bored. So I think we'll just find other things. But people are obviously frightened because it's potentially going to be the dismantling of capitalism, the dismantling of countries, the dismantling of genders, the dismantling of ideas. And I feel this is partly as well why there's a backlash against social media, particularly for young people, because they don't want them finding out the truth too soon. On social media, sometimes they can say, oh, okay, what I'm learning in school actually does more to it. It's deeper. And then people come into the world now often with a lot of knowledge, but very little experience because they got all their knowledge from online sources, which are authoritative in their own way and they're diverse. But back in the day, of course, we used to have to find these things out by accident. You would learn about psychedelics because there might be a book in the library in your school. And, oh, that sounds interesting. And so you could, then you could go out and find out, about Terence McKenna or Timothy Leary or go and read some books or whatever. But nowadays, people can find out everything and they can be having just a lot of knowledge they come into the world, and a lot of pre-existing identity that they form through their interaction with social media or whatever. But that's getting a bit
Mm.
lost in it. I feel personally we need to be more creative all the time. We need to be creating. And what is creating? It's a time that you give yourself. It's not about necessarily the output of it, but it's the time that you give yourself for doing something which is, a kind of a blue skies thing that you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, it's like
And
self-expression, really, isn't it?
definitely, but where's the self in the creation is the other thing. So, who's
Everywhere.
the creator and who's the created and what is
Yes.
being created. So I think when you think too deeply about creativity, then you can get kind of lost in its meaning, but there's no real meaning in art. If you think about it, what's the meaning of a song or a piece of music? What's the purpose of it? It's just to be played or experienced. The same with art and making art. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and make art.
And
And
for,
I feel I make art out of everything. Like I make art out of my life. I make art out of culture, and I make art out of computer programs and the raw stuff, of algorithms and
mm,
loops and iteration and analysis, that we teach in computer science as well. You can make art out of that, and it's beautiful as
love,
well. A lot of the old videos, the IBM mainframes, of fascination with old computer science and the origins of it. And you can watch incredible videos of training videos from the IBM, say the System 360, which was or maybe the IBM 1404. These mainframe computers that could run they could run any program, but just very, very slowly. But they're the videos themselves are almost artistic. They're so beautiful to watch. The
I
slow
love,
delivery of these computing concepts.
I love all
It's
the retro. I love all the like the retro computer aesthetics. When you turn on the old
yeah,
Microsoft or the old Mac and how it looks, it was
I
just like
love it.
such a beautiful
I grew
period
up
of
in that.
time.
See, I've been a computer person forever. Like I had computers. I had my MSX when I was growing up. This is actually the poster for I Am Danny. Big art project, all about the MSX and
Mm,
all about AI as well. This is computer generated art made by humans. So a lot of the art that this make, it's I like to think of it's made by a machine, but in the back end of it is students writing computer programs to make all the images and to make it all work around. So it's
it's
computer
amazing.
generated art made by humans.
And I've heard as well from some people, that that's going to be like a whole branch of art in itself. Like an AI artist, who gets so
Yeah,
good at using AI to make paintings
something.
or portraits or movies, and
Yeah,
that's going to be a branch in itself. But I also feel
yeah,
like, yeah, you're kind of touching on the point there earlier of this kind of AI slop, so to speak, where everything is
yeah,
just going to look very mediocre. It's all going to look the same. It's all going to be like mass generated.
yeah,
And it's kind of this thing where you're so right. Like if people haven't done the foundational work and built up those skills and eye for design and for art and
yeah.
beauty, if they don't do that groundwork, it's just going to be like mediocre. It's just going to be like
Yeah,
everybody
it'll be
else. But
clones, exactly, and everything is going to look kind of the same, which a lot of the AI stuff tends to. But I mean, that will evolve and change as well. And there's nobody who can really predict this. There's all kinds of people saying in 5 years' time or 10 years' time or whatever. But you can have an idea that for sure, all of that will have infinite creativity, creative power. But people still knit things by hand. People still paint by hand. And, the invention of the drum machine didn't mean that people didn't learn the drums.
yeah,
So, the idea that everything is just going to change and we're all just going to use AI for everything, that's not been the case in the past. And there's no reason for it to be. There's definitely a purpose and a value to doing things in many different ways.
yeah, we still listen to vinyl. People still use typewriters. It's
Yeah, I like to joke like that, when I go into the cobblestone, that it will be replaced with AI. But like that's in a
there's
joke,
AI Brian
because
playing his
that's
flute in
kind
the
of like,
corner.
yeah, but you still see people playing these wooden instruments made in the same way for hundreds of years and playing tunes which is ancient music of Ireland, hundreds of years old and have been played in families for generations. Our immigrants' music, I like to call it.
Yeah, love
It's
that.
immigrant music because it was kind of developed by the Irish immigrants in America. People underestimate. We think it's been here. Irish music was obviously a lot of it. Some of it was composed in Ireland. A lot of it was, composed in Scotland and other countries and made its way to Ireland. But also, a lot of it was collected in Chicago and in places like that after the famine. And a huge amount
Wow, I
of
didn't know
Irish
that.
people found themselves abroad. And then the Irish traditional music culture really evolved a lot. The idea of people gathering together to play music and all in the session kind of context, that kind of came outside of Ireland and then came back to Ireland in a way,
Hmm. Oh,
because
interesting.
it's interesting. Yeah. But anyway, that's just a little bit of an aside. We're still working on AI and trad music though.
Yeah, tell me more about that. How's TunePal going?
Yeah. So for people that don't know, one of my big projects in life, and it's kind of my life's work, is this software called TunePal. And TunePal basically provides all of the repertoire, transcribed manuscript collections of Irish traditional music from the last, 300 years. And they're available in a phone. So it came out about 16 years ago, 17 years ago, I think. That the project is really much older than that. And the current one allows you to play a phrase from any one of the tunes in the repertoire, and TunePal will identify it. So many people use it for learning traditional music. It's on everybody's phone, really, and it's free. It's been free for years. But basically, this was my PhD, and then I kind of thought this is going to be super useful for everybody. So went out into the world. But in the last few years, I've been updating it with AI. So I've had Claude look after the algorithms, look at the algorithms in TunePal, and even my PhD, where I, basically my contribution was all about how to recognize the tunes from live play and how to match them up, even with all the expressiveness from the noisy backgrounds and stuff. So yeah. So there's a new TunePal, new TunePal this summer, which is so much more accurate. It now has 64,000 manuscripts in it. And
Wow.
you can search for any one of them by playing a phrase. It works on way more instruments now. The banjo was the one that always used to give it problems now, but TunePal works really well with banjos. It works with the pipes. It works with flute, fiddle, accordion, ensembles. That's been released this summer. And it's just such an important project. As I say, if you go to any you go to any cultus class, cultus being the organization that does music classes, or any primary school or secondary school where students have phones, they'll have the app on their phone. And it is really beloved. It's hard to even describe like the feedback that I get from people wherever. Oh, you're the guy that made TunePal. TunePal changed my life. A man told me he loved me the other night in a pub. So I love you for making TunePal. How does that make me feel? I'm delighted. I
Amazing.
love
You're
it.
doing
So it has
wonders for humanity.
yeah, it's got tens of thousands of daily active users. What we are currently working on is a holographic form for the project. In other words, it will run on, for example, the Quest headset, which we have been developing a lot of our projects for in the last few years. And these are brilliant. They're low
That looks
cost.
amazing.
Yeah, thanks. We removed the faceplate, so kind of customize them. So the faceplate is removed. You can sort of see inside there, I mean, they're
Mm.
very good. They're called pancake lenses. Also use this kind of design on the head strap. So it's very low friction interaction. You just put the headset on like this, and you are literally in the holographic world. So I can see you and I can see the world around me. And here, then I can basically interact with a holographic interface. And this holographic interface is actually all to do with music creation. But just, from the TunePal perspective, we also have these super cool motion capture system, professional motion capture system, which has arrived. And our goal really with the new TunePal project is to motion capture professional Irish musicians. We have, money in our budget to do that, and turn them into holograms. So then they will be able to, be a kind of like a holographic musician that you can practice with. Could be a
That's
baron. Could
wild.
be the people
Absolutely
we're
wild.
working with actually are super interesting as well. Mark Redmond, who is one of the world's top uilleann pipers, Claire Sherry as well, a fantastic musician, Claire. banjo and also an amazing music teacher. We played together many, many times, banjo and fiddle. And then the Tempo Music School in Drumcondra then as well, with Robert O'Connor there as well. And also with the TU Dublin Conservatory, we're hoping to bring this technology to the music students. So if you
But
want to
isn't
learn a few tunes, you can put on your lightweight headset or one of these. Your hologram will appear there, and you can play along with them. It's spatialized audio, and they will be captured from real professional musicians. So
I
I
think
feel if
that's
we're going to have them
so
out,
amazing.
isn't it
Absolutely.
cool? Thank
But
you.
like, I think musicians are going to be like immortalized almost then. Like, is the future going to be like we go to a library? I'm just going to download Bryan Duggan now and then sit
Yeah.
down with him in my house and play a few tunes with him.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's the kind of like, that's the next, the next, we'll say, kind of like logical step for this is being able to recreate musicians from their videos, which we can
Wow.
certainly do. And it would be my dream and goal really to bring back Willie Clancy, for example, and to bring him to the Willie Clancy Festival, as a hologram, so that people could say, oh, I played a tune with Willie Clancy last night. People like, Willie Clancy died in 1972 or 71. It was like, no, I played a tune with him last night. Oh, here you go. Look, here I played a tune with Willie Clancy, Or for me, it would be Seamus Tansey, my hero, flute playing hero. And I would love to bring Seamus Tansey back and allow people to experience like his magnificent flute playing, kind of almost in the flesh, which we can do. And this is what a way to engage with cultural heritage and to engage people in music experience and knowing about musical cultural heritage as well. So that's
Absolutely.
that's the next one. But the other cool project that we're working on, and hopefully, I can show you maybe a little demo of it at some point, is SquareWave, which is all about, it's TunePal multiplied by 1,000. This is my project, which as I say, my dream is for this one to be bigger than Riverdance and a bigger cultural thing from Ireland. It's such a crazy idea, right? So it's basically a holographic interface. There's 2-step sequencers that you can program, and there is also a drum sequencer you can program, and a whole load of different effects. You can loop things backwards and forwards, but there's a few simple things. It's wave to play. So it's wave to play. Can you play an instrument, Dara? I know you can play a bit of flute.
Yeah, no, tin whistle. I play with tin whistle, learning guitar at the moment.
Nice, excellent. But this is a great one for anybody that wants to like create musical journeys on, a whole load of different instruments. Like I remember going to Niels Fromm many years ago and
Oh, he's
just
amazing.
being kind of captivated by these journeys, where it's changing and evolving. So this is what this technology enables people to create, even if you know very little about music. Within a few hours, you'll be able to create like these incredible musical journeys. So we call the project SquareWave, and it's with a K. SquareWave, because
Nice.
I'm Scooter 500 with a K on social media. And the K is uppercase and the rest is lowercase. So SquareWave is the project. Wave to play, pinch to program, touch start and enter flow. But it's honestly if I feel about purpose and drive, this project is the most important thing in my life right now. This is the
Yeah,
thing I just feel really strongly. This is honestly one of the most beautiful and the best things I've ever created, and it's going to have huge impact because people. The whole idea is you play the instrument, you are the instrument. You create the journey, you are the journey.
wow.
Do not fear mistakes; there are none. So you go into this thing, hours pass by, you are creating these incredible, beautiful musical journeys with your physical movements. You have to move through the space. You have to interact with this machine, which looks like a mainframe to some degree. It's got rows of flashing lights, and
It's
grids of,
incredible.
of musical things. And the other cool thing about it is we have this technology called the SquareWave. What is the SquareWave? The SquareWave is SquareWave with a K. It is basically when the headsets find each other. So if I have a headset, you have a headset, we both run the thing. Our headsets will find each other and then they entrain. So they
Mm,
sync up the BPM, right? Automatically. So if you change the tempo, my tempo changes. Whenever you're on the beat, I'm on the beat. So multiple people, and we've tested up to 10, right? They can all play together and their sounds all sync up. And so this is something that has never existed. It does not exist. This is a totally new human experience we're going to be able to create for people. The SquareWave, and my dream is really for the SquareWave to go out into the world for
Mm.
people to say, hey, let's SquareWave together. And then that
Oh my
means
God.
that they go into their holographic realm and they create music. And then people can form SquareWave spontaneously. We're at war together. We've got two headsets on. Hey, my headset's just synced up its PPM with yours. Let's have a rave. And
Oh
we
my
can
gosh, I
create the
love it.
music. We're in the music and we're suddenly happy. And the joy of music creation is there for everyone. So that's
I've
SquareWave.
Amazing.
Great fun.
I've seen some of the, yeah, I've seen some of the videos of you on TikTok in your apartment just having an absolute blast, and
Yeah. I
must try and
look
get there
forward
one
to
day.
Yeah, I look
And
forward
Brian,
to trying it out. I look forward to giving it to you to try out.
yeah, I can't wait. And I
Yeah.
really feel, Brian, that like all of this stuff is like it's really just human evolution, isn't it? I feel like we're moving into the next stage of our evolutionary process. I think a lot of people are kind of very fearful about a lot of
Mm,
this technology, but like any new disruptive technology that came created a lot of fear in people. But I feel like it's almost like slowly liberating humanity. It's
yeah.
like these things are giving us more creative control, more
Yeah.
space. And, if robots take our jobs or AI takes our jobs, yeah, we have more time for creativity. But it's kind of like
Yeah.
the status quo is scared a little bit, I feel. It's going to really like, I don't know, trim the fat, so to speak, on a lot of like, useless jobs and capitalism and,
Mm,
all these overbloated organizations where we're just like wasting money. It's like, all right, AI can do the job now of 10 people. Those people are free to maybe pursue other things, ideally something that they actually love and are interested in
yeah.
and
It's
creative.
true, yeah. And AI can, as they say, can elevate people. So I have friends and they want to learn something, but they will use AI to teach themselves a new skill, like using Blender, for example. You can start, and the AI will teach you everything. Over a period of time. It will be a really, really good teacher. In fact, we did a project. It was called the End Tutor Project on Generative AI, and part of the project was students who are registered with the disability services around Ireland. They did a project for about 6 months where they met every month online and they were given different things to do with AI. And then they were asked at the end then to evaluate, was it useful or not? And every single one of them says it was transformed their learning experience. So they were able to do things like lesson plans and they were able to like upload things and get things explained to themselves again in different ways from different perspectives. So they found it really, really good. So that's how, as you say, you could use it definitely to level up. But it is definitely going to be a challenge because there's going to be a shift in the labor market. There already is a shift in the type of work that people are doing. Listen, now everybody's using AI. Everybody's using it to write their emails. Everyone's using it to manage their thing. And I mean, it's just helpful. It's hard to you can't you can't tell people not to use it because it's you know it's like as Terence McKenna says, like it's like making psychedelics illegal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
humans are curious, and we're obviously going to try and find the easiest and fastest way to do things. AI as well. It's like cannabis and like drugs in general. They should be reserved for older people.
Mm.
They
Rite of passage. It's really a rite of passage. You kind of have to do the foundational work to then
Yeah, true.
access
But
the sacred sacraments.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the sacred
But
sacraments.
with Terence McKenna as well, I've also seen that they're like uploading all of his text, all of his interviews, all of his like video cassette interviews, and they're like creating, yeah, all like
Yeah,
AI, so to speak, Terence McKenna. And I'm sure he'd be so happy with that actually, because
yeah,
he's getting more of his philosophy ideas, and he was so counterculture. He was like he predicted a lot of this. He was like it's going to get so weird, it's going to get weirder and weirder and weirder until people
yeah.
eventually start paying attention.
Exactly. And I mean, the archaic revival, I think it is. And then there's the essay on becoming a virtual octopus, which he wrote, would you believe, in 1990. And
Wow.
he tried out a very primitive virtual reality in Autodesk at the time. And obviously, big, massive headsets, probably the frame rate updating, not very fast, but he was able to get a vision for where virtual reality is now. That's what's
Mm,
amazing about this essay, because he said that virtual reality experiences should resemble experiences with psychedelic plants. We could communicate telepathically. We can give direct communication of our experience to another person. And now there's a kind of a movement towards creation of cyberdelics, which have been around really for years. I remember giving talks at Azora about cyberdelics, back 2019. But the idea of cyberdelics is now a thing. Cyberdelics, from altered states, altered traits.
I've never heard of this phrase. Could you, yeah, share a bit more about like, yeah,
Yeah.
what is cyberdelics? What does it involve?
Cool. So cyberdelics is creating altered states of consciousness through technology
Mm,
mediated kind of means. So, and it involves all the senses as well. So you can engage the sense of touch, the sense of sight, color, shape, and form, and sound, obviously as well. So, and then it can use virtual reality, can use headsets, can use what to call it, biofeedback as well. So there's a
cool.
group actually. This like a cyberdelic society, and they are based out of Berlin, of course. But I was at their hackathon last November, and I got to see lots of really like great projects over the days. We did a hackathon, and they kind of explained or communicated the concept of cyberdelics. But they run events, if Modem Festival. So
Yeah,
they have
been
an
there.
installation at Modem Festival, and you wear like VR headsets. And what it does is it uses like the cameras on the headset to give you the vision of the world around you, but it will augment it and distort it like in a very psychedelic way. And they're really, really cool projects. But
That's
my own
amazing.
project I would consider to be a cyberdelic, because it brings you into flow state, brings you into flow. So you get
Mm,
into musical flow, and you're in that creative zone, there's no friction. That's the whole thing about flow, is that there's no friction between your intention and the thing, and the kind of self dissolves from it. So I consider it to be a SquareWave, to definitely be a cyberdelic. And it's inspired by things like raves, but it's also inspired by traditional Irish music sessions and
mm.
entrainments, and how musicians gather together to play socially. It's great fun.
And how's the kind of what's the kind of the temperature of musicians in the space now with regards to all of this like generative, yeah, music and art, and how are people really, are people feeling threatened, or are people like embracing like you with like TunePal and holographic musicians and
Oh,
world of stuff?
I feel there's a bit of performative push, or the pushback is the wrong word. There's a bit of performative anti-AI stuff out there as well, and people try to get engagement on social media by saying controversial things about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine. And also, like, yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of cultural things happening. Suppose the Meta glasses, and then all of the pubs, the what you call it, the Weatherspoons has now banned all the Meta Smart AI glasses because they can take pictures of people without their consent. I
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that.
I agree. Yeah, I
You
agree with
should
that.
have to get people's consent before you take their pictures. So I kind of agree with that. But that's just another thing that's happening. At the same time, there's another movement out there of people creating content specifically with this form. It's like Marshall McLuhan says, the medium is the message. When
Mm,
the new form takes shape, then the media takes shape around it, and the new culture takes shape around it. That's
yeah.
why, for example, while there's a pushback, and while there's people who are like against the use of AI in creative work, there's also people who've totally embraced it. And there's festivals now and awards being given to people for the best use of AI in their field. Like, I feel I use AI, I achieve multiples of what I would have achieved without AI. And also, like, I have a barrier in my head because I've limited time, and things that are going to take me an awful lot of time and require a massive cognitive load, I might just say, right, I'll never do that. I'll leave that for somebody else to do in life. Whereas now I can do it. And also, you can try and experiment. And if it doesn't work out, there's no major cost investment in time or whatever. So in
Yeah.
our project, we're able to experiment with different colors and forms and music, and throw things in and out of the project and reshape the whole thing. And that's also very important, if I think, if you want to be successful, is to pivot and be flexible. But
100%.
yeah,
I know you're pretty into the robotics world as well, and just seeing the the potential for that. People who are like have
yeah.
disabilities or need care at home, and they could have a robot there, doing simple stuff for them. Are we kind of
Yeah.
moving towards like are we moving towards like a Star Wars future with robots or more of a Blade Runner? Is
Give
that
you what? Yeah, great,
where are we
great.
going?
I love robots. Of course, who doesn't love robots? You know
I would
what?
love a little
Young boys
R2D2
that
like
grow
going
up
around the
like
house. That'd be so
I
cool.
would, I would, yeah. And a friend was telling me yesterday about some new AI companion thing that they're going to get. And it
Mm,
replaces their little smart home device with an AI companion that has camera in it, looks at you, learns your moods, behaviors, whatever. And then over time, then it sort of becomes your life coach and lives with you, you know? I think
wow.
that's brilliant as well.
And they make
Again,
them
it's
look
the
so
idea.
cute as well. Aren't they making them look so cute with like big eyes and
Exactly. Oh, definitely. Yeah. A couple of thoughts. So I think again, we're getting a humanoid arriving here in our lab in September, which I'm very excited about
wow.
because it has dexterous hands. And in the videos, this thing can play the piano. So my goal is to try to bring it into a trad session and have it play, with traditional Irish musicians and see how that goes. This is how we learn, by doing these kind of interesting ideas. But an interesting one I thought about, and maybe you think about this as well. I mean, you have a child. I don't have a child, right? I would never really want a child or anyone looking after me when I get old. Not that I plan to get old because I don't even identify with age. I think age is doesn't apply to me. I'm zero now, today. It's my birthday, zero, always.
Love
Thank you. Give me the presents. I want presents. Yes. But
presents.
yeah, but like if I
That is the
ever
gift.
did find myself incapacitated, I would much prefer robots to look after me than humans.
Yeah.
I would much prefer to have a couple of robots that I was in control of that were able to like care for me and, take care of my home and my possessions and, can do any kind of tasks or entertain me, whatever, play music with me, whatever I want to do. I would love that, definitely. And people say, oh, I would like a robot looking after me when I'm old. I definitely want robots, not humans.
How do you feel about like I don't know what the correct word is, but like the likes of Neuralink and like getting robot like prosthetics and stuff like that? Would you move into that sphere? Would you see like yourself a use case for that in the future if you needed? Would you go there?
Oh, not whether I needed, I would go there for sure. I mean, if the technology was perfected, I would certainly sign up for it. Yeah. And
I
if
love
it
these
was safe.
exoskeletons. Have you seen these exoskeletons? People are
Yeah,
paraplegic and have like
that's
broken
right.
hips and broken knees, and they put on these.
Aren't
I
they
think it's
incredible what
amazing.
opportunities they're going to give people and what power. And that's the same thing, I suppose, with technology. When it empowers people like that, it is really beautiful and magical. When people are suddenly able to do something and then it gives them this capability, it's like it gives them a new life. And
Mm,
again, my own little project, the SquareWave thing, I think lots of people will go into that thinking that they can't play music or maybe they're not musical or whatever. And they'll come out of it with a new, which is psychedelic, they'll
yeah,
come out with their godlike power in music creation. Do you know what I mean? So you see
yeah.
somebody on the stage like Niels Fromm who looks like a god, and you think, how is this person able to create these incredible musical journeys? And we give this power to everybody on earth. So,
Mm,
and then, that's going to make everybody suddenly realize, wow, I'm beautiful, I'm creative, I'm musical. So, I think it's beautiful. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's
the
it's
Neuralink
amazing.
thing
And
I probably would do. I feel we need to move into a more harmonious relationship with technology, and that's going to happen through new user interface modes. So, for example, there's a new platform launching, the Android XR thing. There's the X-Real Aura glasses, and they basically provide this much higher quality experience, or maybe Apple Vision Pro quality experience, but they're going to provide it in a glasses form factor. Imagine people wearing a pair of glasses and you wouldn't even know that they've got a whole holographic world going on around them. And every
yeah, wow.
capability you can imagine and access to AI and everything. So, and I think it's better because I feel, right, I grew up before smartphones, saw smartphones coming in, made TunePal for smartphones. So it's like somewhat subverted the purpose of the smartphone, instead of like, making it a thing, you give everything away for free. And then also it's for teaching people Irish traditional music. That's the purpose of a smartphone. What was it invented for? So that more people can play Irish traditional music. Isn't that cool? But also with these as well, we subvert these and make them into musical instruments. We started in the time before the smartphone. Even to the big phones, use those for a while. Then this thing came along. And the thing I observe about this one from kind of a stepping outside is the kind of like closed loop that the smartphone gives a person, you know?
Yeah.
And you see it all the time. It's no problems, no judgment. We're all doing it. But you're in a closed loop, right? Like this closed physical cycle that's going on. And you can see faces lighting up with happiness and joy. There's this feed of dopamine and happiness coming through there. And it's very, very compulsive because sometimes it's so brilliant, so unbelievably life-changingly brilliant what you're seeing there. My Instagram feed right now is so good. I just have to put it down. It's like, oh my God, every one is relevant to my work, relevant to my projects, funding things, whatever. It's so useful.
It's such a positive way to look at it, you know, because
Yep.
I know you're a big comic book fan as well, and like with great power comes great responsibility, and it's kind of like yeah, whoever has access to this power, you know, it can be used for good and bad, but also us,
Definitely.
it's
So
us
don't
up to
fear.
us as well. It's up to us as well to be, you know, responsible for how we use
Yeah.
these things, and we can
Yeah.
cultivate, you know, really really beautiful things from technology. And yes, it can be a double-edged sword. I know for me, Instagram, doom scrolling, like I get addicted every so often.
Yeah.
I get that cheap dopamine, get caught in the cycles, then come away, come back in. But
Yeah.
like it actually benefits my life and has benefited my life more than I think it's been a drawback. You know, the people I've
Definitely.
connected with from all around the world, you know, getting my work out there, meeting others, sharing, connecting. It's been beautiful. And yeah, of course it has its downsides, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like self discipline as well. We need to take responsibility for how we engage with these things too.
It's true. I mean, I've had TikTok moments. Have you ever had a TikTok moment when you're like
No, what's that?
scrolling for ages? A peak TikTok moment. I've had them many times. I mean, they're as good as any kind of peak experience you'll ever have in life. You know, it's when you start to get a bit bored of TikTok and then suddenly it gives you something completely left field that just takes you by surprise. You find yourself crying. You're like, how did I discover this amazing thing? You know, and then it brings you down another rabbit hole. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta, it's fine, do it for a while, but it's like anything in life. A good servant, but a bad master.
Yeah. I've become super fascinated by, you know, the dopamine system, and I think you know a lot of people's, you know, apathy to life and depression is because their
Yeah,
dopamine systems are just so hijacked, unfortunately. And there's like
right.
such this big rise in, you know, ADHD and attention deficit disorders and all of this
Yeah,
kind of stuff, and it's like linked to technology. Is it linked to how we're using it, and if we use it in a, you know, less of a, you know,
yeah.
intense way, that maybe, you know, people wouldn't be suffering so much.
I understand. I think one of the problems is how to change it, though,
Yeah,
because technology and things move forward. People think, for example, we've never dealt with this before. It's not that things have not exactly happened like this before, but there's been lots of change and we're in a constant flow of change, particularly since the invention of the computer. The people that got jobs in the 1960s, you know, up the punch card operators and so on.
yeah,
I mean, they all had to reskill when that skill became, you know, obsolete. And,
yeah.
you know, that's the way computers are always replacing things. And technology is always this like ever consuming thing where it's just getting better and more faster and whatever.
More
And
efficient.
that's something that you can stand outside of and observe, particularly if you've seen it happening over a long period as I have. You know, like
Yeah.
I saw the computers in the 70s on TV programs. That was my introduction to them. And then in the 80s, I got one. And then that was the start of the dialogue, you know. And then the dialogue has been ongoing all the time. And now the dialogue is with something which is almost my higher self, you know, which
Mm.
is my dialogue with Claude and all the great stuff that you can do, you know, with Fable 5. You know, Fable 5.
Haven't used it, but yeah, I've just seen a few bits and
Yeah.
pieces.
Like its coding abilities, I used it for the few days, you know, and I've used it a good bit. Its coding abilities, in my opinion, it's not that its coding abilities are necessarily better, though they are unquestionably than any humans. it's that its approach is like what I would call a postdoc. You can give it a PhD and it will analyze the PhD like a postdoc would over
Wow.
maybe 6 months or a year, but it'll do it in a matter of minutes, and it will find all
Really?
of the flaws, improvements, and whatever. Exactly. Not only will that do, because when I was doing TunePal, for example, and improving TunePal, I gave it went off and like autonomously downloaded loads of test audio from the internet, from transcribed pieces. It found them all, the appropriate ones, the real ones from academic papers. It went up and looked up to where you could download the audio, and then set up a whole test harness to rerun all loads of experiments. And it ran, maybe, did it run overnight? It ran a whole load of experiments. It actually created a whole load of test audio from MIDI files of trad tunes, and it autonomously figured out how to do all of this, and then ran trained machine learning models itself overnight, and then came up the next day, with a whole pile of improvements. And then it said, after all of this work, I conclude that this algorithm was actually not better than the one I used yesterday, or whatever, So it was honest enough to admit that at the end of all
Wow.
of this piece of work. So that capability now is in the hands of everybody.
Yeah, yeah. What do we do with it? I feel like there's a huge revival in trad music, traditional music. Look,
Ah,
Belfast Fly was huge, and then
isn't it
some
wonderful to
videos from the
see?
Willie Clancy. Do you think it's response to all the challenges that are going out there in the world at the moment? Like people are getting more into creativity, more into
Yeah,
music, and also like I think for Irish people, we're finally getting an opportunity to really express ourselves through our culture. It feels like really
yeah,
safe.
definitely.
It feels really safe to start to speak our language. I was on a podcast there recently, Irish with Molly, and she's saying, so many more people are learning the
Yeah,
Irish language
beautiful to
now
hear.
and connecting to our roots and, connecting to our culture, our really beautiful culture. Like Irish culture is so beautiful. And now we have a real opportunity to share and express and learn from it.
Um, yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of reasons why Irish traditional music is super popular right now. I think Cultus has a lot to do with it, the organization, because they
Okay.
branches throughout the world and they run classes. There's one thing I would say about Irish music, which I think all of us in it feel, and that it is kind of wholesome in a way. It's a lifelong thing where you're never going to be lonely. You'll always have opportunity to like have great fun and great crack with other people. And it's we play a lot in pubs, but like there's a lot of people now that don't drink as well, and you just see the points of Waiwadi or Ribena or whatever, and we have just as much crack. And also then there's
Zero
so
zero.
many. Yeah, the
The
zero
zero.
zero. What a time to be alive, huh?
What did
Yeah,
you
it's
say? What did you say to me there the other day? What a time to be alive. Guinness
That's
zero
it,
zero.
exactly. What a time to be alive. Yeah, when you can get the delicious flavor of it without any of the harmful side effects. And like, I give out about it. I go through phases of being really against drinking. And, like when you try to give it up and you find it so hard and you miss it, then you tend to become a bit bitter. But, and you're like, also, you really know it's not good for you. It's so bad for you. And I mean, you hear, for example, about the rise in synthetic opioids and, not opioids, but cannabis things. Oh, the number of cases has gone up to 30. I mean, the number of like people like, sick with alcohol every day in this country, we really need to talk about it a little bit, And also, I always felt maybe when I was growing up that by the time I became an adult, we will have just matured as a country in our understanding and approach to it, but seems we kind of haven't really. And it's nowadays it's just celebrated and glorified. And what was it I saw the other day? Venus Sol and the beautiful picture of the sun in the background and the bottle of wine, and it was like this taste the Spanish sunshine. I mean, no wonder we're all brainwashed. Seriously. Like, and then you look at TV programs and they're always drinking wine, particularly the 70s, the 60s. Okay, let's go off and solve this mystery over here. Well, let's have a drink first. And they're all chugging it back. Nobody's ever
Or even
drunk or sick
Game of
or anything.
Thrones.
So.
I found since watching Game of Thrones and even House of the Dragons, they're always
Really?
drinking this lovely wine out of these lovely chalices. I feel like, I really want to drink a wine.
Definitely. But TunePal is also part of the journey, and I'm proud, very proud to be part of people's musical journeys, because people have it and they depend on it every day, and it helps them to learn the repertoire, which is one of the hardest things. You got to spend a year by yourself learning, the few hundred tunes and practicing your instrument and playing badly. And TunePal helps people through that, and a lot of people are playing music, and TunePal is basically part of that, part of the reason. Yeah, I think my feeling for Irish traditional music, the wholesomeness of it, the fact that you have this lifelong journey playing music. Like, I go to Willie Clancy. I've been going to the Willie Clancy Festival for 25 years, more than that even. And, my teachers then that taught me originally are still teaching. And the people I knew, the people I met, maybe even played with for years, decades, some of them are not with us anymore. Some of them are dead. Some of them are just like, they're old and they don't come anymore. But they maybe went to the festival for 20 years or 30 years as well. The festival was started in the year I was born, 1972. So I love that as well, that two great things came into the world in 1972. But the Willie Clancy Festival, really, that was a game changer, a life-changing festival for me, where you could just go and play music non-stop with people and learn from the top musicians in the world. And people understand it. People understand that there's something unique about the kind of experience and crack of Irish traditional music, musicians playing together, playing sets of tunes, playing. And, we start slow, we speed up a bit, we all entrain together, everyone's playing together. It's like the experience of play. The other thing is it's participatory, lots of musical traditions you go to listen to, but traditional Irish music is something that people play by their tens of thousands. And if you know 5 or 6 tunes on the tin whistle, great, come on in and join, and you're welcome in any session. You know what I mean? So,
and what I love as well is no two trad sessions are ever the same. No, like it could be like a really like rowdy session, or it could be more chill, or there could be someone there with a few ballads, and someone comes in with like a different instrument that is traveling through or whatever. And it's just, I love that kind of mystery to it as well. Like, someone had said to me that like traditional Irish music is like our shamanic culture.
Yeah. It
It's
is
like,
definitely,
oh, it creates this amazing like altered state, and you look around and everyone's so fixated, and it brings so much presence and joy and mystery.
You know what? It's there's a couple of thoughts that come to mind. It is Martin Hayes is a great quote. He says the tunes are simple, but not too simple. They're simple enough that everyone can learn the repertoire, but they're not too simple that you ever get bored playing them. And every time you play a tune, and let's see, what's the name of the poet? Last Night's Fun is the name of his book. I can't remember the name of the poet who wrote this beautiful book all about Irish traditional music and the culture of it. But every time you play a tune is different. Every time you pick up the flute, it's kind of different, because the instrument has its own character, the atmosphere, the air, where does the tune begin? And where does the player end? And who's playing who? The music was around before us and will be around after us. So are we playing traditional music, or is traditional music playing itself on us? Is an interesting thought to consider.
And like, I like to think as well, in the plant medicine world, if you look at some of the indigenous tribes, they have their Icaros, they have their healing prayers and chants. And like, for me, like being at a trad session or listening to, Irish music being played live is deeply healing. It's so moving, It's like, for me, it's like it moves me through like the sadness, the grief, and then the joy, and then the happiness, and then the ecstasy. It's like it can be such a journey.
Yeah, and all the interesting tune names and how they relate to people and places, and the people that play them, the people that compose them. And it's interesting, in many musical traditions, the composer is celebrated and the performer is kind of forgotten about. But in Irish traditional music, nobody knows who composes the majority of the tunes. They're kind of lost. I like to feel that they were given to us by the fairies, or maybe given to us by aliens. And there's alien language that we're like, really, there's a hidden message or something. We don't really know. But the tunes are kind of interesting. They have this conversational quality to them. And, the thing is, a good musician never plays really the same tune. Even the same tune in a set, you'll play it differently every time around. Because, you're listening into the body. How much breath is in your lungs, where you are in that, how warm the flute is, all of these things that you put into words, but really are hard to put into words, because they're their feelings. And
Yeah.
if you play something like the flute which I've played all my life, right? The flute is really like you have to build a new body to play it. You have to build new muscles in here, and you have to build a new relationship with your lungs and the air in it. It's not about having lots of air, but it's about having very good control of the air and understanding how the air relates to the sound and how the sound is produced in the instrument. None of that can be put into words. It's
Quite an
all
embodied practice,
feeling.
isn't it then? Like you really
Definitely.
have to be in your
Yeah.
body, And I know you're also a big fan of yoga and breath work and
Yeah.
how much those other modalities like really help us in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, but yoga is a big one for me. I do yoga every day. It's a big part of my life, and I've been doing yoga since I was a teenager. One of those things I got into, and I just thought this is useful, this is important, this has potential as well. In other words, you could bring it to a very high level. But the older I mean, I'm not getting older, so I have to stop saying words like that because I don't feel in any way that I'm getting any older. I feel like I'm getting younger, to be honest with you. But like every year is just more excitement and more novelty, and I feel better, and I'm able to do different things, and new things happen. But yoga's for me as a digital creative person, and also playing this thing all the time, So you have to move yourself into a bit of an awkward position and hold it for many, many hours. But I stand on my head every day, which I truthfully say this, it gives you a different perspective on life, to see the trees growing out of the sky and then to see the sea, up above you. So it's good. It honestly changes your perspective to do that. And if you keep on doing that, you can keep on doing that well up into your hundreds. I intend to live indefinitely, well into my centuries at least. I have a lot of work to do, and I have a lot of important work to do. So reversing aging, I have reversed it back to zero.
Yeah,
So
I'm really getting interested in this whole sphere of like, aging and longevity, as I also
yeah,
start to approach my 40s now, I also want to be here for a good time and also a long time, so
yeah.
it's
But
interesting.
just on the yoga, I'll tell you, because I did do a few things. I got a couple of good things coming up. Like I've done yoga workshops for computer science students for many, many years. And for inductions, yeah, I'll be doing big session for all of the incoming first years this year in inductions. I'm actually training all of the student ambassadors. So hopefully they can go out to their own campuses. The whole theme of it is programmer yoga. So it
Wow.
stretches that you could do standing up, and you don't need a yoga mat, and they're very, very easy. They're kind of like checking in with the body and also putting a focus on emphasis onto parts of the body that programmers often will get the problems with, if you're coding and you're at the machine all day. So you got to do these kind of stretches
Yeah.
and, these sort of things. And then the shoulder rolls as well. And I teach them a little bit of breath work, and I teach them a song, things like that as well, just to get people, having fun on their first day in college. And
Amazing.
yeah, it's great fun to be.
What a joy to meet someone like you on the first day of college, like
I hope
this.
so. Joy to meet somebody like you. Come and join us there and meet the
I
students, will
would,
you?
I would have to come in
Come
someday.
back to
Yeah, absolutely.
academia.
I definitely want to get
Cool.
back into some sort of academia at the moment. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure out which
Oh,
area will
wonderful.
best serve me
It'd be
and,
a
my
great
work.
asset,
And
definitely. Yeah.
so yeah, Brian, just before we finish, like a big part of your work is around cannabis advocacy and legislation. Like where are we at now in Ireland? Because, in the psychedelic space and also cannabis space, things are moving so fast. I just love to hear,
Yeah.
what's been going on and where are we at? Like, are we gonna see psychedelics in Ireland in the next 5 years, 10 years?
Well, you probably have thoughts and opinions on that one as well. I mean, I don't think it's looking terribly positive. I remember the formation of the last government, right? One of the things I had read was that the issue of cannabis legalization was preventing the parties from forming a government. Fine Gael were against it, Fianna Fáil were in favour of it. So you know what? Again, I feel you got to take action. Sometimes you got to do things. So I wrote a letter, and I thought about it for a few days, and I wrote this letter to every politician in Ireland. And at my own expense, I put stamps on all the letters, and I dropped them all into Dáil Éireann. And eventually, I got a few replies back. The majority of politicians never bothered to reply, which was kind of sad because I'd actually paid for my own stamps. It cost me like a good bit of money, but that's not the issue. I just would have appreciated an acknowledgement. But
Yeah.
I got acknowledgements from a good few politicians, and they said that they send it on to blah 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 department. Like there's two bars in the doll, and they maybe many that have never tried cannabis have no understanding of it, or even understand that it's been legalized in many other European countries. For example, in the UK, they've really moved forward with medical cannabis, and you can get
Yeah.
medical cannabis on the NHS now very, very easily. And people with, for example, endometriosis, which is the one I feel really sorry for anyone that has that in Ireland that cannot get cannabis for it, because it's one
Mm.
of the most commonly prescribed things, and apparently it's very, very effective, and I can understand it. But so anyway, that was it. Ivana Bacik wrote me a very nice personal response, which I was really impressed by. If anybody's interested, you can read that letter. And if you want to talk to people about why cannabis should be legalized and regulated, and why we need to focus on harm reduction and education and keeping people safe instead of arresting people, and also make cannabis available for all of the people that would benefit from it, particularly
Mhm.
older people. I'm talking about the 50 plus.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people that get aches and pains. I'm talking about people that feel they've lost their joy of life. Cannabis can bring a lot of that back for them, and it can do that very safely if it's
Yeah.
done kind of consciously. Like take one puff, wait 10 minutes, see how you get on. And also safe access, important. You go to Germany, and 900 applications for cannabis social clubs. And that takes all of the control out of any kind of criminal organizations. Criminal organizations in Ireland, thank you, because you provide us all with a public service by providing us with cannabis, and providing
Much
all the
of it.
people in Ireland who want to cannabis, or who find it beneficial with it. Well, we need safe legal access. You go to Amsterdam, you go to Spain, you can join a social club, and they have them all behind the counter. You will get guidance from the people in the club, about whatever it is you want to take, whatever you want to have cannabis for. They'll tell you
Yeah,
about
you're
strains and type of, whatever. For me, it's all about mobility, and that's the one thing. As people age, you need to keep physically moving, and cannabis is absolutely brilliant for that. So people with the aches and pains that they think they took to the seat, sofa, oh, that's it, I can't do it anymore. A little bit of cannabis can really help those people, and we don't have access to it in Ireland. So that's something I wish more people would talk about it, and more politicians would talk about it. They won't even talk about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think, around magic mushrooms and MDMA and
Definitely.
these other substances, they're starting to, be tested in clinical trials, and I think the stigma is really moving away. But cannabis still holds this kind of darker, kind of negative energy around. It's amazing to see Europe is moving forward, and yet Ireland isn't. It's just
Is.
very strange.
It is. Yeah, I feel we're a bit. It's weird, is it, what politicians talk about? E-scooters. Again, I'm just back from Verona in Italy, and they've e-scooters everywhere over there, and they don't have any problems. You just hop on when you tap your credit card. E-scooters.
Yeah.
Ireland, it's the major topic of conversation this summer, is how we're going to regulate e-scooters. Fine, okay. Lots of other things in Ireland that get a lot of attention. And then this thing never seems to come up in public discourse.
Yeah. Well,
Whereas
it's great
something
to
else that might come up is the price of alcohol, and if you're drinking more often at home, or if you're still going to the pub as much as you used to. So that's a big issue for politicians to try and address.
I
Like,
know, yeah. Well,
cannabis? What?
don't take Irish people's booze away, Don't price
Yeah, and I've
don't
nothing
price it too.
against the booze. I used to give out about it, but I've drank enough pints myself, and I've had enough alcohol in my life as well. And I also enjoyed it, and I understand its role in supporting Irish traditional music, and all the jobs that it supports as well. It's
Mm,
complicated, like anything in
yeah,
life. It's complicated, but it
that's
needs to be
it.
brought out in the open, and I wish more people would talk about it. And you know what? I'd love everybody to know, your first time trying it, if you've never tried it, take one puff, wait 10 minutes, see how you feel, then take another puff. And that should be the official message of the Irish government for all Irish people.
It's a maturity thing, It's like psychedelic education, psychoeducation.
Exactly.
We need to, teach people about this stuff, how to work with these substances in a respectful, safe, sacred way. I think a lot of the problems and issues we have from from prohibition is it's all just pushed underground. And it's amazing organizations like PsyCare, they're helping people in harm reduction now, and they're starting this nighttime project as well for people who have, issues with substances at nighttime and
Yeah.
support, emotional support. And it's amazing. I think we're definitely moving forward, but I think there's still this like maturity piece that we need
Yeah.
to address.
But the maturity piece comes from politics and the media. I think a lot of Irish people's lives are very different. For example, the prevalence of cocaine use in Ireland is fucking massive.
Yeah.
And, people are getting damaged from that. People damage their sinuses, and then also there's people getting addicted. And I can't understand it. I can't understand. The reason why cocaine is so prominent in Ireland is one reason, and it's alcohol. It's
Mm,
because that's the door opener to cocaine. Nobody ever does it unless they have a few pints on them. And so then everybody has the few pints. They want to keep the night going. And then, let's get a bag of cocaine. And, like, yeah, anyway, that's alcohol is the cause of that one. That talk about the gateway drug. And, but anyway, I don't want people doing cocaine. I think they're better off doing nothing and just doing the breath work and the cold
yeah.
immersion. I feel the older I get, the less interested in any of that I feel. Drugs, like my life is drugs. My creativity gets me incredibly high. My music gets me high. The actual lived experience of the everyday life, which I intend to do indefinitely, like I say, is really good for me. And I don't really want something that takes me out of it. I want only things that take me more into it and make
Yeah.
it more enjoyable and make me able to do more of the things I enjoy doing and that I feel. It's great to have purpose. Purpose will keep you. Purpose is when you have purpose in your work, you're unstoppable.
I think Salvador Dali got it. He was like, I am drugs. Like
Yes.
all of life, is a psychedelic
Yeah.
experience. And, sometimes we don't need to
100%.
reach for the substances. But Bryan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the
Thanks,
episode.
Darragh.
What a whirlwind. It's been so great to catch up, to hear your thoughts on all of these, really like fascinating developments in the space. And who knows where we're going to be in our next conversation in maybe 2 years' time. But before we wrap up, I'd just love to maybe get a little demo off you or play us a tune again. Thanks to everybody for listening to this week's episode. I will leave everything in the comments if you want to connect with Bryan, some other links. And if you enjoyed the episode, please share it, drop a comment, follow, like. It's always really appreciated to get these episodes out there to, promote Bryan's wonderful work and this discourse that we're having. I really feel like humanity is evolving so fast, and it's just amazing to have conversations like this. So thank you so much, Bryan. And if you want to, give us a little demo now, we'd love to see it.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just gotta play a tune on the flute because for technical reasons here, the casting and stuff is just causing me a bit of issues. But you can see lots of cool videos of this project on my blog and on my YouTube channel as well. This is the configuration of headset we use. And you can even play the flute with it, and it takes input from your flute and will, you can incorporate that into the music. I'll play you guys a tune, right?
Great. Thanks, Bryan.
All right. Let's see what have we got here.
Thank you, Bryan. You're an absolute gift of a human
Thanks,
being.
Sarah.
Looking forward to catching up in person soon. But wish you all the best on all the projects. And
Thank you. Thank you so
all the best.
much.
Take care.
Thanks.